For decades, British homeowners believed their property was their castle and their primary store of wealth. But while you've been distracted by the mortgage time bomb and the cost of living crisis, a new, even more insidious threat has been quietly prepared behind the closed doors of the Treasury. I'm talking about a systematic overvaluation of the UK's housing stock, designed to trigger what many are calling a mansion tax by another name. Reports leaked from the Treasury in early 2025 hint at a plan to overhaul council tax bans for the first time since the 1990s. Under this new framework, properties valued above £1.5 million could face double the council tax of ordinary homes, an extra £4,000 to £6,000 per year just for the privilege of owning a home that, in London or the South East, is anything but a mansion. This isn't about targeting oligarchs in Kensington. This is about ordinary semi-detached houses in Wandsworth or Ealing being taxed as luxury estates. Even worse, this revaluation is happening at exactly the same time that actual market prices are in freefall, creating a valuation gap that is designed to extract maximum tax from a middle class that is already drowning in debt. Tonight, I'm exposing the wealth mapping database, the inheritance tax trap, and the mathematics of this orchestrated theft. The government is desperate for revenue. With national debt at 102% of GDP, the highest since 1961, they have run out of ways to borrow, so they are turning to the one asset they can't hide, your home. The proposed revaluation of council tax bans is the nuclear option. For 30 years, these bans have been frozen, but the new framework intends to mark to market. The problem is that the market they are using is a fantasy. While the Halifax and nationwide indices claim prices are only down 3%, the real data from Land Registry shows that actual completion prices are now 23% below asking prices, the biggest gap ever recorded. If the government values your home at £1.5 million to trigger a higher tax bracket, but you can only sell it for £1.1 million, you are being taxed on $400,000 of non-existent wealth. In London's outer zones like Barking, Hounslow, and Croydon, property values are already cratering as the population exodus accelerates. Yet families in these areas are being hit with some of the highest tax rises in UK history. Birmingham is already implementing a 21% increase while services are cut to the bone. This creates a death spiral where the cost of owning the house outruns the ability to pay for it, leading to forced sales and further price collapses. How is the government going to find everyone to tax? They aren't going to send a surveyor to your door. They've built a digital net instead. Hidden in Section 47 of the Rental Reform Bill is a requirement for a property registration database. While they tell you this is about tenant rights, the technical specifications reveal it is a comprehensive wealth mapping tool. For the first time in British history, the government will have real-time access to a database that integrates mortgage data, council tax records, planning applications, and even inheritance records. This system uses predictive analytics modules from firms like Palantir to flag property owners based on market inefficiency. If you own a home in a high-value area, the algorithm flags you for revaluation. This database is designed to profile every homeowner's financial picture. It's a surveillance network that monitors transaction histories and behavioral patterns to ensure no mansion tax or revaluation can be avoided. This isn't just about rental reform, it's about the systematic dismantling of private property ownership in favor of government-monitored assets. The inheritance tax trap and the oligarch penalty. The overvaluation doesn't just hit you while you're living in the home, it destroys your family's future after you're gone. Inheritance tax thresholds have remained frozen at £325,000 for years, yet the average home in London is now well above £500,000. Ordinary families who worked their whole lives to pay off a mortgage are now being taxed on their inherited homes like they are luxury estates. In parts of London and the South East, families are being forced to sell the family home immediately just to pay an inheritance bill they cannot afford. The government's strategy is clear. They are refusing to adjust tax thresholds for inflation, which effectively turns the entire middle class into oligarchs for tax purposes. As property values fall, with some regions like Manchester and Birmingham seeing 35 to 40% drops, homeowners are left with the worst of both worlds, a shrinking asset and a growing tax bill. In the West Midlands, repossessions have already jumped 87% year on year, and these tax hikes are the final nail in the coffin. Why is the government insisting on these high valuations while the market is freezing up? Because a market crash that is publicly acknowledged would destroy the banking system's capital buffers. UK banks have $2.3 trillion in mortgage debt. A 40% fall in prices creates nearly $1 trillion in potential losses. Instead, the government and the ONS adjust the data to prevent a panic while they quietly facilitate a wealth transfer to institutional capital. While you are being taxed on an overvalued home, large investment funds like BlackRock and Vanguard are raising billions to buy distressed residential property for cash at 40% below market rates. These vultures don't pay the same taxes you do. They use corporate structures and international currency hedging to protect themselves from the very costs that are destroying British families. They are waiting for the mortgage time bomb to hit its peak in January 2026, when 3.2 million households will lose their fixed rates and be forced into the arms of the taxman or the repossessor. The overvaluation of your home isn't an accounting error, it is a policy choice. The government is choosing to protect institutional donors and the banking sector by sacrificing your home equity and your retirement savings. If you own a property valued near these new tax thresholds, you need to understand that the Boxing Day bounce and the estate agent promises of a resilient market are a lie. Transaction volumes have collapsed. In Hackney, sales are down 45%, and properties are taking 4 times longer to sell than in 2019. Your survival plan must include challenging valuations. Do not accept a government rebanding based on fantasy index prices. Use actual local completion data. Awareness of the database. Realize that every detail of your property is now being mapped for tax targeting. And patience. If you are buying, wait. The overvaluation bubble will burst by 2026, and you will be able to buy at 30 to 50% discounts once the vultures have finished their first round of feeding. The property ladder is broken. For 20 years, you were told property was safe, but the rules of the game just changed. The crash is here, the taxman is at the door, and the only power you have left is the truth.